YouTube? I am Aaron from Lone Star Drift. We are in day 1 of Drift Week, and I'm going to introduce something real quickly, and then we're going to go in a completely different direction. Duarte is trying to outball us 100%. He went out and bought an F80 M3, the most baller drift car you can drive on Drift Week. Did you drive Jordans?
Yes, I did, and that's why I have this.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
And this video is not even about this whole experience. I just want to say that he bought the coolest car you could buy for Drift Week. Full interior manual transmission car, heads coming out. It's out right now. They're about to change a piston in the dirt at Horse Thief Mile. He's a
We're
trooper.
actually going to take it to a shop. We were going to do it here, but because we don't have the time and tools, we're going to take it to Castro Motorsport.
Man. How far away is it?
An hour and something from here, about an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So we were indecisive about doing it here or not, and it's just not really going to save any time, so might as well drive it there in the morning and try to repair it.
Drive it there? Or, oh, you
no,
mean
put it on the trailer
okay.
and stuff. We were going to tow it, but then another, I'm not sure what their name is, I'm sorry, but they came over and offered a trailer, so we're going to trailer it up as soon as we're done with the interview and get it prepped so in the morning we can just drive there and start tearing the bottom in so that we can start to possibly wait for the parts, go to every BMW shop around, rip a motors apart, do whatever it takes to be able to put it back on the road again.
That's not even what the video's about. The video, I think, should be about, unless, do you have anything to talk about, or you just want me to give you a subject?
I was in the middle of loading it up. Like,
okay.
You can fire it up whatever you want at this point.
The subject, I think, is there's very few people that probably had such a transformative year in drifting right now as you.
Yeah.
Most people in drifting are thinking of drifting as drivers, building cars, building, trying to go pro, doing some crazy thing, doing some, I don't know, whatever they're doing. You're actually building a business.
Absolutely.
Obviously, Drift HQ. Adam bought into you. You're now at the compound. Whole crazy thing. Do you want to tell us a story? Tell us about something that people don't know about, something cool behind the scenes. You told me some of the difficulties you had, which I thought were interesting. They were different. What do you want to talk to us about? Tell us about this whole experience.
I mean, the experience has been great overall. I just think that people don't actually realize what it takes to build a company from scratch the way we built it and the amount of work it takes. So when you're talking about driving, in a sense, I would say like I sacrificed a lot of driving while other people got to get better, compete, do whatever dreams that they followed. I chose the other path, and the path of building a business is always the hardest because you can't necessarily just give up. You can't just go a couple of years and then just say like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. If you're already into it and you want to see the benefit, you just have to keep pushing every day until opportunities come up. One of the things that I've chosen to do is to never say no to any opportunity. And Adam pretty much was one of those things, even though we knew that it was going to be hard to do what we did, leave family behind and everything, but at the end of the day, we know it's going to pay off, and it already has been paying off, like I told you earlier, where maybe some of the companies didn't want to work with us. They wanted high, like I would say, they call it buy-ins, where they wanted us to put a lot of money down. And we understand that to be able to get product. And now, obviously, being in partnership with Adam, like they're pretty much just saying, like, just you're a distributor or you can get as many parts as you want. And some of them even put us on credit. So it's like, it's insane. So, and at that level, there's a puppy. So,
he just walked in front of the camera. It's cute.
Right.
Keep going.
So I think that in that aspect, it opened up a lot of doors, not only for us, but for him as well, to be able to have pretty much a shop right next door to him where he can go. Like, he built that S15, and every single little thing that he needed immediately, he just walked 3 doors down and grabbed it from the shelf. So having that kind of like capability, having a shop, having a space to be able to do what we have been doing lately, it's going to take us to a whole nother level. And it's very hard for any other company to kind of compete with that because most of the companies are in it for just the profit. So they don't really care about driving, they don't really care about anything else. And now that like we're at this level, we pretty much are going like backwards, more seat time and like cooler builds and trying to do things a little bit different than what has been done in the past, I would say.
Advertisement time, and special thanks to all the sponsors of Drift Week 4. We have Y-Plate Imports with Trenton. Y-Plate Imports, if you need a JZX, any right-hand drive Japan car, get with Y-Plate Imports before they're too expensive and you can't afford them. Good appreciating asset class. Instead of Bitcoin, buy right-hand drive cars. And BC Racing coilovers, like drifting would not be the same in America without BC Racing custom coilovers. Hit them up if you need anything. Support the companies that support grassroots drifting and professional drifting and everything else. Thank you so much to them. And thank you so much to NK Wheels. NK has been sponsoring our content for a long time, especially the long Japan stuff. So if you watch that stuff, thank you so much. Thank you to whatmonstersdo.com. You can hit them up and we have a discount code for you, EBISU, E-B-I-S-U. Is that right? Yeah. And go over there for 20% off. And ECU Master, hit them up if you need any standalone ECUs, all the little trinkets that come with them, rad digital dashes. They make so much cool stuff. Thank you so much to them. And of course, thank you to Drift HQ for being a part of everything. We could not do this like whole event without Drift HQ bringing the trailer, or we could maybe, but it'd be a lot harder, bringing all the replacement parts for all the cars and keeping them all on track. Thank you so much to Drift HQ, and let's get back to the content, or the end of the video, whatever this is. I'm thinking about how interesting it is that the YouTubers started YouTubing, making money on ad revenue, getting maybe product deals or something, starting merch lines and stuff like that, and now they're going into the business of wholesale or distributorships or whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely.
It's kind of crazy. Like, what's the limit of all this?
I don't think there's any limit, and if they're smart enough to use it while they have it, because I think deep down most of them know it's not going to last forever. And if they're smart enough to make good business decisions out of it, they will come out on top at the end. It's kind of like celebrities in a way. If they don't use their money wisely while they're on top of their game, then it kind of goes away, like Mike Tyson is doing like dumb stuff right now because he used all his boxing money, and now what can he do?
He owns a weed company, doesn't he?
Like now he owns all kinds of things just to be like, he'll do porn probably if he needed to for him to be able to survive and keep up with the lifestyle. But they're smart. I mean, it takes a lot of work on their side, watching Adam closely and a lot of the other guys that do it. It's a lot of hard work, I would say, like on their end as well. It limits them to maybe like sleeping a few hours a night and probably working more than the average person, like 16 hours, 20 hours days. They have to completely do what we do on a normal base and then still go out and make a business out of it. So the ones that can find, like TJ Hunt is one of them. He started his own company, like he's doing body kits. It's the partnerships, like they can't do everything their own, and that's why he gathered with us, because we do this part of the business. He does his own, so it kind of goes together, you know? We love what we do, so it just makes things a lot easier, and it's gonna grow into something massive because this is what we love doing.
Do you have much of a game plan and vision with how to like take this into the future, or you're just like, let's see how this goes and figure it out?
We have many game plans. We just can't discuss them, but there's definitely a lot of things that are on the back burner. First thing that we're trying to do is get organized, get inventory in hand, get more companies that we didn't work with, get more international companies to come on board so we can be exclusive with them. And it's just like kind of taking control of the market and I would say a little monopoly of what we can, because everyone can sell whatever Turn 14 has, but not everyone can get parts from all over the world and have them at a phone call away and say, hey, I need this for my car. Here, it's on the shelf. Like Adam did a video a couple days ago about Black Friday, and we have a massive amount of inventory, like tripled what we had before he came on board. And we just keep buying more and more because a lot of companies are just drop ship companies. And the market itself, it's making them harder for them, because now with all these crazy sales tax laws, it's making the little companies that don't actually have stock, making it harder for them to sell and get stuff drop shipped unless they register within a certain state. I don't know if you understand any of that, but that's a whole nother
I understand it
story.
enough that I don't even want to ship anything.
Yes, exactly.
I think that my like Big Cartel side and stuff, they just collect it all for you, so I don't have to.
Yeah.
Like I just ignore it all now.
Yeah. So
obviously, you guys are on a different level.
Absolutely. So it goes with, like you're saying, what are we thinking? Like the drift rental is one of the biggest things that we're working to get it really narrowed down, because you asked me like, how is it working out? We're still learning, and it's okay to learn this way because that's the best way to learn, like taking it to events, finding out what's going to happen, finding out pricing, finding out what's reasonable or not. But if we didn't have that car to rent, they probably would have had to buy a car, figure something out. They wouldn't have the support that they have. Same thing with other drivers in other countries, like South Africa for clutch kickers. Given the ability for people to come that have a dream of competing in the U.S., which is a dream for many, many other drivers across the world, to have something ready, they can jump in, turn the key, and go drift. That's something huge. That alone could be, it is its own business.
Yeah.
Because of giving people an ability that they thought it was going to be impossible.
Two things on that. One, you're building a business on the back of mine, which is hilarious.
Yes.
I didn't think that would happen.
Yeah.
I didn't think people would have rental cars at this stuff.
Yeah.
That's because my business, Drift Week's kind of a joke. I mean, you guys are super organized, super thoughtful. You literally have a crew bigger than mine. Yeah. Doing the part sales and everything else. I mean, you guys take things super seriously. I'm the idiot driver, just like trying to go do laps and everything.
We do.
You guys take everything super seriously. You have beautiful cars, beautiful builds. I mean, I don't know how you even logistically do all the trailer stuff. It's ridiculous. And then the rental cars, I mean, you could, as soon as the international borders open, you could have 10 of those things on this trip. I know a lot of international guys that want to come, and they're like, I'm going to ship my car over. And I'm like, you're insane.
Yeah, they don't understand the cost.
No, some of them do,
yeah.
And they don't care.
Yeah.
Like Wout, I think Wout would actually probably happily ship a car over and go through all that.
Yeah.
Because depends who's driving on the Drift Week and the other cars. But if like Chelsea and a couple like Matt Field type guys came out and they had baller cars, Wout would be like, I'm going to have a baller car and chase these guys down.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the international people that want to do Formula D or whatever, they want to come drive with these people because it's still way cheaper than, whatever. But I was going to say, how many cars do you think you could scale to? And do you want to tell us a little bit? Because if you want customers, it's a lot easier than them asking you and stuff. How much is a rental roughly? Obviously, there's going to be a lot of variables.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables because it goes with like transportation and everything. Like I would say just the car itself could end up being from $6,000 to $10,000. But then there's, where is Drift Week going to be? Is there going to be a crew like dedicated to the car? They are kind of like on a different spectrum because we sort of sponsored them a little bit because we follow their channel as well. We wanted to work with them. So we kind of helped them out, gave them a little bit of a break, having our crew to help them and having something different, but we can't scale that up to like helping 10 people at the same time.
Yeah.
For us to be able to do that, it would be impossible. Like we have plans to buy a wedge that can carry 5 cars. Damn. We have plans to be able to do all that kind of stuff next year because not just Drift Week, but clutch kickers became something that drivers are more like wanting to drive than FD, for example, because they know they're going to be able to go there and drive against a Pro 1. They know they're going to be able to go there and have a chance. They know they're going to be able to go there and just have a good time. They see all the videos and stuff. So we are possibly going to have a whole crew dedicated to take cars to clutch kickers with their own mechanics and stuff. So it's going to be like a learning process of probably a year before we narrow it down. But there's a lot of people that just want to drive a different car. We're going to have Corvettes, BMWs, 350Zs and things. So let's say you've been driving 350Zs for 5 years and you want to know what it actually feels like in driving a Corvette. They can jump in a Corvette for a couple of days and see, hey, I like this chassis. How did you build this chassis? Which then turns it back around on us, because if we build a car and somebody drives it, they're going to say either that they want that exact car, or they're going to say, hey, sell me all the parts that you sold to this car, and then it becomes something. Mm-hmm. So to us, it's a win-win no matter what. And some people don't like renting, driving other people's cars, but they would pay like $500, $1,000 to go drive a car for one day. And then like, oh, I love this car. This is exactly what I want. Next thing you know, they're buying. So it's,
yeah.
You can't lose in that
I don't know how
situation.
you'd rent them for $500 a day or something.
That's
like that.
gonna be like a
I've done the math
G35,
before.
a Genesis, something that's already there.
I was gonna say, even though when I've done the math and like I've rented cars before, I'm just like, well, I lost money. Always lose money on it. After you do an oil change, fill the thing up, you know, go over the thing and fix, you know, little tie rods or whatever and mess with it. You're like, my time is worth something in these parts. You're like,
Exactly.
I'm breaking even at best.
Yeah, you have to scale in
Especially because cars are ticking time bombs.
Yeah, you have to scale in the degree that if there's transport and everything else, you have to add that all up. But that's the base price of like a Genesis or a G35 or something simple. And it's working out good because we are only 30 minutes from OSW. So like it's just get the car there, the people will drive it for a couple hours. Most events, people don't drive the entire day. Like they go out every session, especially at OSW because they get so many drivers. They'll go out there, drive for 10 minutes. They are out. They wait for the next session, which is like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then they drive for another 10 minutes, and then they park the car again. But if it's a private rental, then that's a different story. They're gonna drive back-to-back lessons, which we're gonna be able to get like them associated with like Chelsea Deneau for other people that they want to hire as their instructors. We're not trying to do a drift school. We're just there to facilitate with the cars, get an instructor in the car, and the driver, and that's it. So we'll get the instructor there if they want to get somebody, or Chelsea's in town, or one of the local FD drivers in Orlando or something like that. They'll get that person, we'll get the car rented, and they'll go learn with them. Drift school, I think like what Chelsea was doing is if you don't have a track that you can be there every day, that's actual track that people like want to go to, it will never work out in a business sense. Because it's like, you don't know if you're going to get every single day. So if you hire somebody to be there Monday to Friday, then you don't know like what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, so it's one of those things.
From my point of view, I want you to rent like 10 drift cars to international guys.
To come here?
Yeah, because it's so difficult for the international guys that it really opens up. Some of the guys are like, wow, he bought an E40 M3, had it set up, put Wisefab and stuff on it, and it's just been rock solid for, God, how many miles do you think he's put on that thing in Drift Week?
A lot.
10,000 miles
He's
now?
gotten his money's worth for sure.
Yeah, 10,000 miles at least, and at least like after the end of this Drift Week, 21 days of drifting or something like that.
That's a lot.
Which
a
is
lot
a
of seat
lot.
time. Another thing that we can also do is get cars ready so that when drivers can buy the car, bring it to Drift Week, when they're done with the car, sell it.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot easier
Power
for them
vehicles
as well,
model.
like Power Vehicles model. They used to do that a lot back in the day. Like, obviously, they would trash the cars and give it to them, and then they would pay, I think, 40% or 50% of the car back or something
Depends
like
how much
that.
they trash it and stuff.
But I would say it would probably be easier for them to, if we had, let's say, like 6 to 10 cars available there, and they could choose whichever one of the cars, or they could call us and get the car prepped ahead of time. We could also open that possibility that they own the car, and if they wanted to leave it here for the next Drift Week, the car's already here. You could find a place for them to store the car. So it's endless. There's so many opportunities that we can have for Drift Week to continue growing and us at the same time. So
I have a question for you then.
yeah.
If you're scaling a business off the back of mine,
I love how he says that.
no,
Yeah.
you're thinking of something differently. Because
Yeah.
you're always a businessman, I think. I'm not going to hit you with a feat. What I was going to say is, how many Drift Weeks a year would you want me to do?
No more than 2, I would say.
I'm never going to
please
do more than
not.
2.
Yes.
So, but I was going to say, is 1 for 2022 correct, or is 2 correct for 2022? Because everybody else that comes to the events, I don't want to do this if you don't come.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, especially if you're
understand.
doing rentals, I kind of don't want to do it. I kind of don't want to do it if you don't bring the trailer or the
trailer,
van.
yeah.
I kind of don't want to do it if my good friends don't come. So I was going to say, how many Drift Weeks a year for someone like yourself who's scaling a business up? I mean, obviously your other business is 100 times bigger.
Yeah.
This is just like kind of like a comedy
fun
routine.
thing.
Like
This
a
is
fun
like
thing.
the vacation
Right.
for us
But
too at the same time.
How much of this would you
Not
want
when
me to
this
do?
happens, but yeah.
Yeah, that's
when that
something
happens,
else.
it's not vacation anymore. Then it's a nightmare.
You're like, Jordan's worked the whole time.
I know. It happens.
So how many of these a year would you want to do?
No more than 2, I would say. Like, it's just, it like, we got, like, when we finished the last Drift Week, we're like, damn, that was that was a bit stressful. Like, hopefully he doesn't do another one, like, soon. Then when you did it, it was actually her. She was like, let's go, like, we're doing it. I'm like, damn. I thought I said I wasn't gonna do another one that soon, but it ends up like you forget
They're 6
all
months
the.
apart.
I
They
know.
feel so close.
It's so close, and it's. I saw your post last week that actually said that was actually like, hey, it seemed like you had all this time in the world to get your car done, and all of a sudden you had 2 weeks. We had 2 weeks to get this car done, but we had 6 months of planning, but 2 weeks. Actually, that took more time than anything. Is getting the van, getting everything done, moving. But the car was the least of my concern because we know we can build a car fast. The boys are insanely talented, so they just, like, whatever it is, they can get it done. So I wasn't worried about that, but I would say, like, it's going to put a lot of financial stress if you do any more than 2.
But 1 or 2? Would you rather see 1 or would you rather see 2?
I would rather see, we are not doing Formula Drift next year, so I would say 2.
Okay.
If we were doing Formula Drift, I would say 1.
Okay.
So we are not doing Pro Spec next year.
Cool. Well, no, this is real stuff because I don't really talk to everybody that much outside of the interview sometimes because we're so busy a lot of the time. Not today, it was really easy. But, well, I didn't pull apart ahead. But anyways, I was going to say 2 I can do. 1, because like if Japan opens back up, a lot of us will be going back to Japan.
1-1.
And I have a new
and
baby and stuff, so it'll probably be 1. So it kind of varies. I never expected to do 2, honestly. I thought this would be like a 1. I honestly thought there'd only be 1 of these, but it kind of turned out and I got better at it.
And you're going to keep getting better. So if you don't do Japan, then 2. If you do Japan, then it's 1, and we're fine with that.
Yeah.
But it's also
But I mean,
good,
if you build a bunch of rental cars, you kind of need to operate them twice a year. Otherwise,
I don't think that.
Around so much.
They won't because there's so many other things going around the country as well that people will always. This Drift Week obviously is a dream for drivers. Like the messages don't stop. Like, oh, it's my dream. I wish I was there one day. But even drivers in Brazil, South Africa, all over the place, this is like the ultimate dream. To be able to come and shred for 2 weeks and hit all these famous tracks, this is something that like you can't even like dream of. This is really something out of this world that you created. But at the same time, it's a lot of financial stress, I think, on the local guys trying to keep doing it because they're like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then I keep seeing it is. Because the FOMO is real. Like, if you don't come, then you keep seeing all the stories and you start hating life. But this is still less expensive than doing Pro Spec or doing Pro-Am or doing anything like that. And you get 10 times the amount of seat time.
I would say both Drift Weeks, not for you because you do this whole crew and it's very stressful, but for a normal driver, 2 or even 4 Drift Weeks is probably less money than 1 Pro Spec round.
Absolutely.
That's crazy to think about that.
I know. And you get more
Formula
seat time.
D, like Pro Drifting is a totally different thing. This is totally different. I'm not like saying one's better than the other, which obviously this is better.
It's just less money is what I'm saying at the end of the day. And you get more seat time and you become a better driver. So it's definitely the way to go if you're trying to get better. Just like the Drift Games guys are doing. Like, they're here to get better at it, to get media. This is a dream for them as well. Like, this is something that they thought they were never going to be able to do. It sucks that David couldn't make it because, unfortunately, he got sick. But he already said he'll be here at the next one, and he's possibly going to rent another car. So
awesome. Back to the thing about how much seat time. Did you really pay attention to fielding before you did any Drift Weeks or ever see him drive?
I did videos here and there, but not really.
It is insane how much better he's gotten after like 3 or 4 Drift Weeks.
Myself too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just see some of these guys and they just like are getting so much seat time and so good.
The confidence behind the wheel, being able to learn in different tracks, elevations, like you're just at ease, you know, you don't really feel the pressure that you have to be 100%, so you go out there, really have fun and get better, just get better, more aggressive. Like after I think Drift Week 3 that I went back, like I've just become like extremely aggressive at driving, like hitting cars, hitting people, just trying to do whatever I can to become better, you know? Not crashing into people, but just becoming more and more aggressive, more confident, because I was always very hesitant of like damaging other people's cars. Right now, I'll just go, like even with this, if this was fully operational, I guarantee you by the 3rd event, me and Jordan will be like door to door.
That's gonna look so cool.
That's all we want.
This is also insane because like drifting is changing because of these kind of builds in America. Like we had the missile car crisis, we had like the Pro-Am crisis of everyone building Pro-Am cars.
Yeah.
This is cheaper than you have like a Pro 2-ish car, right?
This is
how much cheaper is this?
1/3 of the price.
And how much baller is this?
Absolutely another level.
You could have 3 of these for like your cool car. Yeah, people don't realize that because like they're like, oh, it's just an S13. You're like, that S13 costs more than a new M5.
Kevin and Brittany came over yesterday and they were like, oh, you're crazy to do this. But I was like, how much was your Corvette? They're like, 30. This was 34. It's a rebuild title. Like obviously we put a lot of good parts in it. Probably added on like a good 10,000. But it's still very affordable. And the luxury of drive. I told them today, like, this just feels unreal. Out there with AC on and just full on music, and then like it's like this does not feel normal.
When I was drifting Jordans out at Medford, you're just like, oh, what have I done with my life?
Yeah.
You're like, why do I keep building these dumb cars?
And she already knew. And she was like, go get it. Go get a car because I know you're gonna want it. Like, and here we are.
We've created a monster. All right.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you want to talk about before we're done?
Just keep kicking ass and keep doing what you do.
Is there any other unique things that have happened to you lately?
Unique? We just been working so much that nothing really unique. There's a lot of things that I can't discuss. They are going to be big changes as well.
Okay,
They're going to come next year. So you guys you'll be seeing a lot of us. Let's say it like that. Yeah, we'll discuss it then. Remember the last drift week I told you? I pulled you aside and I was like, there's some big things coming. So
I believe
we're always on the next thing. So
it's crazy. The what was I gonna say? Drifting right now, I feel like drifting was very stale for a long time.
Yeah.
A lot of things in drifting don't change. Whether it be car builds, whether it be this or that. It's just neat to see things change so rapidly. Whether it be the YouTubers, they're changing the sport rapidly.
They are.
Adam is most of the live stream on FD, it feels like.
It is.
You know, you're just having all these new influential things where before we would watch VHS option videos or we would do this thing or that thing or, you know, things are just changing. Like,
and I think this is just the beginning.
It's
kids, still gonna get.
Do you remember Top Secret and all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Adam is now like Smokey Nagata to young people back then.
Yeah.
If young people care about cars. I don't even know if young people care about cars. But there's just a new generation of influencers. And if you think about it, Smokey was like an influencer back then. We all copied stuff like that. We copied Arito, we copied Taniguchi, we copied Nomura Ken, or at least we wanted to. Some of the stuff was unobtainable. But it's cool.
We see it.
And then I was gonna say one other thing. Do you ever think about the fact that I talk to Fielding about this and other people. I'm like, hey, you need to be nice to those kids that are chatting with you, whatever, because like you're almost somebody like they have a poster on the wall. People don't really have posters anymore, but you're the wallpaper on their phone, or like you know they love your car, they love Fielding's car, they love a specific person, or people. I get messages all the time about Jordan's car.
Yeah.
People are nuts about that thing. They're nuts about like when I first got a Corvette back in the day, it was like. Taylor Ray had one, but I don't think really it was seen that much maybe, or I didn't notice it. And then Matt Field and I got one kind of at the same time. And I got so many messages about that, and people like, there's no way that's going to work. And then people
6 people already wanting to build this car in the last 2 days.
I've had more than 25 people tell me they bought a Corvette specifically because of that.
I believe it.
And
you
they
changed the
every
game
single
with that.
part.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I changed the game. I think Matt Field and other people did. But people, I think it was more approachable when I did it.
I would say just watching your stuff and saying how good the Corvette was definitely changed it, because you know what? When you did that, it gave us the insight to look into them, and we were the first to create the dual calipers for them.
Oh, really?
So when you did that, I was there watching, and I was like, that's going to be the next drift car. And nobody believed it.
They were so cheap
We borrowed a Buddy C5, and from that car, we developed a dual caliper kit.
Whose car was that?
It was a local guy to us, like a regular C5. We brought his car in, made the prototype, and it's still like one of the best sold items that we have, because look at how many Corvettes are here.
That's crazy.
Like, it continues to sell a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there must be
So now it's us
drift
thinking of the same thing. You know, this is going to be the next thing. The 400Z is going to be the next thing. All these new cars, the new generation of more power. Like, this thing makes 550 horsepower, like, on any day. Like, that you can't... with 30 grand, you're not gonna get that easily. Like, you're gonna spend that building a whole car with half of the luxury that this car has. Like, that's just stock, pretty much. It has downpipes and a tune and pretty much the basics just to keep the car going.
Super basic car, just the engine's on the table over there.
The engine's on the table.
I have...
That's Jordan's fault.
Gaskets over here. So hilarious. Hopefully it goes back together.
Yeah, it'll go.
Thank you. Oh, now I'm oily. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me and everything.
No problem.
Congratulations on everything going on this year.
It's
cool to see you being part of like drifting kind of blowing up, you know.
Yeah, I couldn't do it without my crew, so
you're getting so much marketing right now, so much goodwill, and thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for like doing, again, I think if it wasn't for these stupid cars spiking in price right now, they would be so popular.
This car is only 200 pounds more than the E46. Can you believe that? In a 50-50 distribution weight.
You could find these cars for high 20s, kind of like with the salvage title before, you know, all the COVID stuff. And really nice ones 3 years ago with not a lot of miles were like 35. So that was actually, other than like the inflation problems right now, with which Corvettes are getting hit and everything, I was going to say they were a great value for a while.
They were.
Now they're getting a little crazy.
They'll come back down again.
Yeah, you think so?
They'll come back, absolutely.
I've been waiting, and as soon as I find one like in the 25 to 35 range, I'm gonna pick it up. All right, thank you so much. Congratulations on everything.
Yes, sir.
Goodbye, audience.